Okay, I think I'm live. Hey everybody. Let me just check and see to make sure that I'm live. Okay, I think I am. I'm gonna mute myself on the live stream. Sorry, playback. Okay, there. Hey Ron. Hey Austin. How do I experience the ISTJ superego? Are you talking about like an ISTP in socionics? So like a SLI. So my sister, I believe, is an ISTJ in Myers-Briggs or an ISTP in socionics. And it is a very interesting relationship. I don't think it's the worst relationship out there. The one thing I will say is with your superego, no matter what personality type you have, you're going to experience this where the superegos are going to, I don't know, it's a very conflicting viewpoint on certain topics. So, like, a situation that comes to mind is like friendships. Um, I'm not going to actually go into detail about this conversation that I had with my sister, but we had a conflicting view on what we consider friendships. And I just really didn't understand where she was coming from, and vice versa. Just like having extremely almost opposing differences. And this isn't just with like my situation, but I would say with superegos in general. Typically, superegos tend to be attracted to one another. This doesn't always mean romantically, but they tend to see their superego as having some type of value to them. And then when there's a psychological, so from a distance, and then when they get closer, they realize how much they don't really share, or how many things they kind of oppose on certain things. But I still think it's not the worst relationship in general. I think that it's a very challenging relation to have, a superego relation, because you're just going to come from different points of view. I wouldn't say it's ideal. Wouldn't say that you want to seek out a superego relation. And in a lot of ways, depending on the personality types, it can be a very toxic relationship. It could almost be like a relationship full of passion, but also a lot of hatred as well. So like when you're on, you're super on, and then when you're off, you're off. But from my experience, basically your superego is not gonna really understand where you're coming from in a lot of situations, and vice versa. From my experience with my sister, we are extremely different people, and this is something else about the superegos. They tend to look kind of similar, or have like a similar, not necessarily look like as in appearance, but they have a similar tonality in the way they speak, similar energy, and you can almost see those people as being like, some people, if they didn't know those people, they would think that they are very similar in nature. But like I said, with my sister, even though we are both, and this also has to do with us being siblings, but I'm talking about even people that are not siblings, if they're dating. I've seen where an ENFP and an ESTP have dated, and that was not the best relation, even though they were together for quite a while. It ended badly. My dad's calling. Hey Dad, I can't talk right now. Sorry, I'll call you back. All right, love you, bye. Sorry, that was my INTP dad. Anyways, enough about that, and I definitely make a video about that. I know that was kind of jumbled, but let me look at what was said. Is NI narrow-minded in terms of jumping to conclusions and making generalizations, or one-point perspective? How I personally experience NI is, and this kind of shows something with my sister. So my sister used to think I was like crazy, like not crazy in like a real sense, but like she used to think that I either exaggerated things, or was, I don't know, just jumped to conclusions about things. But it wasn't until we actually lived together when I was 21 and she was 19 that she realized like my NI, and she got to the point where she thought that I was psychic. As far as NI goes, it is kind of jumping to conclusions about certain things, but I would say people that like INTJs and INFJs, especially INFJs, we don't tend to want to trust that intuition. Um, we have a hunch about something and we kind of pull it, what would seemingly be pulling it out of thin air. So, like, I had a certain thought about this one person that I met when I was 21. I guess I met her when I was 20. But I had a feeling that this person was going to be who I thought she was going to be from the very beginning, like from the initial meeting. I tend to know whether people like me or don't like me right away. And I also I don't like want to necessarily trust that. I tend to second guess it a lot, where I'll be like, okay, well, I have a certain thought about someone and I have an idea of what they could be, like a trajectory of what can happen in the future. And I tend to not want to believe it if it's something that's negative, but I will voice that with only specific people. For example, historically, I've voiced that with like my sister, my mom, and like maybe a close friend or something. I don't tend to say that intuitive thought or feeling um, to other people that are not as close, unless I'm trying to warn people, unless I really feel like it's like something bad. Um, so I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a generalization or a point 1 point perspective. It's just like almost seeing a trajectory, if that makes sense. I don't know if I really explained that well. And uh, I wish sometimes I wish I didn't lead with NI. I know some people think that I'm an INTJ. Whether I'm an INFJ or INTJ, I don't really like the idea of like leading with NI. And you're going to find that people that have NI in the first position are typically not going to want to have NI, or they wish they were like a little bit more of a doer in certain respects, more so like even INFJs. Here's Flare, guys. And I'm going to take Thea out. We might have to do a little intervention. For those of you that haven't watched my most recent video, like kind of the coming back update video, I got a puppy. Her name is Fia. She is an Australian Shepherd. And I don't know if you guys can hear her. She's not being super loud, but it's loud enough for me to hear her right now. She's squealing because she can hear my voice. So I'm going to probably take a intervention. Wait, intervention? Intermission, not intervention. Intermission in a second to just take her out because she probably needs to go pee. I'm crate training her right now. I know that some people may not agree with that, but when they're puppies and you're trying to potty train them, you have to do certain things. And I take her on like an hour to 2 hour walk a day. Earlier, so she's been on probably close to a 2 to 3 hour, not 3, a little over 2 hours today of a walk. But anyways, I probably should just go ahead and do that. But while I'm gone, if you guys have any thoughts or questions, I'm going to address these really quickly. Austin said, I started talking to an SLE woman. For those of you that aren't familiar with socionics terminology, that is a ESTP, which is the dual for an IEI or an INFP in socionics or an INFJ in Myers-Briggs. I know some people don't think it transfers over. Ron, how do you get along with your ENTJ supervisor or supervisor ENTJ? I can answer that when I come back, just because it's a little bit. I'm not gonna go in super in depth, but I can definitely talk about it. And then Fionic, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I love your new hair, Emily. Thank you. It's not for people that are familiar, which I need like even out my bangs because I definitely didn't cut them super straight. But I've had bangs probably more than I haven't had bangs. I've had bangs since I was little. Basically, since I had hair, my mom used to cut my bangs because you can't really tell, and I've kind of like evened out as I've gotten older, but I have a big head. Like my head is just large in nature. You can kind of see, like I have fairly small shoulders, but and I guess because I'm tall, you don't really notice as well, but like when I was younger, I could wear like large or extra large men's hats. But anyways. Not in the know. Nice shirt, thank you. I got it for like $5 from Target a while back. And then Ron said, how have you dealt with duality in socionics? That's another kind of convoluted question. And then, oh my God, Austin and an SLE chick. Taylor. That's funny. Okay. All right. I will be back in a second. Again, I'm going to show you, little fleurs. Oh my gosh, she has stuff on her. My baby cat doing my workout. All right, I will be back. I'm gonna go get Thea. I'm gonna take her for a walk. I probably should have done this before the live stream, but I was already running late. So I'm gonna take her for a walk, not a walk, but like just to go pee. Then I'll bring her back, and I'm gonna attempt to I'm gonna still do the live stream, but I have to figure out a way of keeping her occupied because she is only almost 4 months old and very energetic. So great. Sophia is gonna take her for a walk. We'll just use the restroom. I am back. Okay. All right, I'm back. Okay, Jackal said, I'll ask a question. I came late, but you were implying that as an INFJ, you see things in people that give you doubts, but you turn a blind eye, giving them a benefit of the doubt as long as possible. Yeah, I don't tend to. I'll give you guys a look at Fia. Oh, by the way, which I don't know if you guys saw this before, she has one kind of brownish greenish eye, and her other eye is blue. It's like a really striking blue color. She's a very cute baby. My phone number is on this tag. I love you guys, but I'm not trying to give my phone number out to everybody. Yeah. She's getting big. She's the biggest girl. You a big girl? Anyways, okay, I'll answer the question. I mean, I'll get back to the socionic stuff. But also, Fleur's, oh my gosh. Fleur does so well with Fia, my cat. She does really well with her. Hopefully my phone number doesn't share, guys, but YOLO, I guess, if it does. Anyways, the question. Oh yeah, so I guess where I was getting with that, and I don't know if I actually like said this, but my sister kind of used to think I was kind of crazy. Oh wait, I just realized. Fia, come here. Fia, out. Oh, gross. Ew. Okay, so Fia, just side note, which, ew. Okay, I have Fleur's cat litter box in my closet in my room, and I have to leave that door closed when Fia's out, unless Fleur has to go to the bathroom. Oh wait, now she's eating the cat food. Oh god. Oh, you're so gross. Fia, what the hell? Okay, Fia ate cat poop, or she eats cat poop. She was eating, and it's really gross because her breath now smells like cat poop. Ew. Anyways, okay, so yeah, so my sister used to think that I was crazy because I would or like exaggerating, because I would tell her different things, because kind of, I was saying this earlier, is I used to, well, still this way, unless I feel there's like a threat or something like that, I typically just tell a small group of people, not even like, maybe even just like my mom or my sister, about certain situations. If I have like a certain thought, like I don't typically voice it to people, like a lot of people, about someone. And I used to do that like my whole life. And then when, and I don't try to, like, I'll have a thought about a situation, for example, a person, it's typically people, or like other things, but typically people. And maybe I get a bad feeling about someone or whatever it is, I'll like voice that. And instead of like, I guess I voice it just to kind of have someone to, I don't know, talk about it with, if it ends up being the case, or just kind of give like people warnings that are close to me. But yeah, I don't tend to voice that publicly or with a lot of people because it's it might be wrong. Like the stuff that I pull out, whether I see something, a pattern, see something, wherever it is, um, a micro expression, what have you, um, because it's not fact, or at least it hasn't played out, I try not to voice that or even like think about it. So like if I have an idea or a hunch that someone doesn't like me, I might not even voice that to anybody else, but I kind of just like will hold on to it and kind of try to bear it away. Like I don't try to like treat that person any differently. It's just I'll want to like explore that. So in the future, I'll just be cautious. Like it will be in the back of my mind, but it won't be super present. But if it does come true, if I have told someone, I'll like they will see it themselves, or hopefully it doesn't come true. Like I almost hope in a negative situation that that insight is not going to come true. And my sister began to think that I was psychic starting at the age of 21 when I was 21 because I predicted it was a few different people and a whole group of people and a whole group situation that I predicted, like I predicted from 6 months out what was going to happen with everything. And my predictions were true. And she legitimately thinks sometimes that I am psychic. But yeah. Anyways, I don't know if that really answered. And Ron, I'm gonna get to your questions soon. They're socionics related. Okay, so you can hear you could hear her. Let's see. Yeah, Jackal. It's something that I feel like, I mean, in a way, I guess it is like, it's nice having an eye. The thing I don't really like is I find myself second guessing myself a lot about a lot of situations because I don't know. And I think in the best situations where I haven't second guessed myself and I just kind of acted on my thoughts, it ended up being like the best situation, if that makes sense. But let's see. Okay. Ron said, can anyone do a tarot reading? And Austin said yes. He's at work. Do you experience TE polar? Something I find very interesting and like the thing that makes me kind of laugh is when people think I'm like an INTJ or TE user in general, or like we use all of the functions, but someone that values TE. I wish I was good at TE, but I'm not. Anybody that knows me well would know this. I kind of expressed this in my last video. I've had people ask for certain like services, whether it's doing a video, whether it's typing, different things, and like charging a fee for it, which from my experience, and I know that like I have a vast experience or knowledge in MBTI and just like socionics in general. However, I'm really bad at the business aspect of things and just like following through with that kind of stuff. So that stuff is really challenging for me. And even just, I don't know, I just really, I mean, I know that's not everything to do with TE, but yeah, I wish I had TE or a better grasp of TE, but that's not the case. Tree's neat. Oh my gosh! I just realized that a certain person is joining us, Logan. Hello. Yeah. Austin's 28. I'm 28. I feel really old. Side note, I've been doing videos for Boo, the dating app, which is like an MBTI dating app. I've downloaded it before. I guess I have like a full access to it. I don't currently use it. It seems like it's a pretty good app if you're looking for that kind of thing. Like if you're wanting to do like MBTI stuff. I'm not like sponsored by them, but the thing I find funny is I've made videos for them and they've put them on like on their Instagram page, which by the way, they do not follow me on Instagram, which is kind of annoying. But anyways, apart from that. And like someone commented, you have these young girls doing videos because I guess the other person that did it in the beginning is like 18 or 19. She's super young. But I'm 28 and I was like, I'm 28, sir. I didn't say that, but I'm not a young, I mean, I'm young in relative terms, but I'm definitely not a child. I do feel like people on TikTok think I'm younger than I am. And it's not like I'm trying to perceive myself as being younger, but I am a full grown ass adult. So that is just funny because I am an old woman, almost 30. Not really old, but Ron, I don't take NI seriously, which is why I lack follow through on certain things. Yeah. If you do not like, it's just like any kind of function. Again, you have all of the functions, but if you do not value a certain functions, it's definitely going to be something that you either ignore or you're just really not good at, or you just don't value in general. Oh, Lucy, are you adding anyone to the live stream? I wasn't planning on it. Maybe later on in the live stream. I kind of want to do like at least do some of the portion by myself since it's been a while, but I'm not opposed to that. April Fools. Okay. How do FE polars appear to you as FE auxiliary? What would you say was the difference between FE polars and FE inferiors to you personally, if there is a difference? Oh, definitely a huge difference. I mean, the best way I like to describe it, like, I think the best, this is again a side note, but when it comes to learning personality theory, I think the best like practice, once you kind of understand like the theory behind it, and like obviously you do need to study certain aspects, it's seeing it in practice. And the best way to see it in practice is just to be around a lot of people, because I know a lot of people are like, I mean, I've seen this where they'll be like, oh, I've never met an INTJ. Oh, I've never met this personality type. That to me is like impossible. Unless you are living under a rock, you have met every single personality type. And you may not like have certain personalities in your close circle, but you know and or have met like various various people of the same personality type. But so I have FE polar friends and family members, And the thing I will say, if you, like for me, going to a party or going out, I personally, like, especially with the right people, I like going out. I mean, even with the wrong people. I mean, I don't necessarily like going out with the wrong people, but there's a certain like atmosphere that FE auxiliaries will keep or carry on. Like if you're going out with a group of people, you want to keep a certain mood going or a certain, like you want the vibe to be a certain way. And FE polar people do not care about that. They really just don't care. And maybe they will keep up appearances, whatever. But like if you're at a bar with like an INTJ, for example, you're not going to uh, you're not going to see or you're not going to see that person necessarily engaging with a group if they do not like where they are. Like they're going to be there because they want to be there. If they're not, if they don't want to be there, they're going to do their own thing. They're not going to feel the need to interact with the group or keep a certain persona. And this just says something about people that are like, there's definitely an FE, FI divide in my mind. And people that value FI or TE and or TE, they are going to just not care about certain dynamics as much as like an FE user in general. And this even goes to like this even shows with people that are not very good at FE. So like even an INTP and Myers-Briggs is still going to value that social dynamic. They're going to feel like they need to have a certain, there needs to be like a certain like threshold that people have to meet, if that makes sense. I need to like explain this better, but yeah. Anyways, what dreams do you remember from recent time? Dreams as in sleeping dreams? I'm assuming that's what you mean. I just forgot what my dream was last night. I know that I had a dream about someone that I know closely. So for those of you that are not, that don't know this, I have very vivid dreams and they're also very lucid. So when I'm sleeping, it seems very realistic. Like I kind of take it for granted in a lot of ways. I honestly think that I have like a sleep disorder because I could sleep at any point in the day. Like if you told me sleep, I could sleep. I could literally sleep on the concrete outside. I could sleep in traffic. Obviously, I wouldn't do that. I have almost fallen asleep while driving, which is pretty scary. But anyways, I don't know. I know that I had a dream about someone that I need to start keeping like a dream journal or something. But it just, the best way to describe my dreams is it feels very much like reality or how I perceive reality right now, like very real and almost like this could happen in real life, but I know it's a dream and I can control the dream. And I don't know if that really answered the question, but let's see. Okay, Jackal. Since I've learned about MBTI and stuff, I've assumed maybe psychicness is simply INFJness and not more. Do you think there's more to it? I tend to believe that maybe some people are psychic. I don't personally think that I'm psychic, but I think that there is a possibility for that. I've definitely had my moments. I don't necessarily think it's just INFJs that are have that ability, but I really would have thought you were either FE polar or ignoring though. So the best way, like, so the best, um, I guess the best way you could get gather that is if you saw me in a group setting, whether that was in person or online. I don't know how many of you are in the Discord that I have, but I have a Discord and we have in the past, we haven't done something recently, but we play games and we do group chats and stuff. And I think you would get a better feel for me in a group setting than on my own. I know I can come off a certain way online. Um, and also you could see that in person. You would definitely see it the most in person, but I get where you're coming from, Mark Dan. Any puller? Are you like suggesting like ISFP in Myers Briggs? That's a common one that I get, or I have in the past. I would say the most common recently. So, again, side note, when I first started YouTube a few years ago, INFP was something that was tossed around a lot, which definitely not an INFP in Myers Briggs. People would just like toss that around. I guess because historically, in the past, especially like people that are INFPs will mistype as INFJ. And then another one that I've gotten is like ISFP in Myers Briggs, which I don't. I can see why, but it's just it doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense. I guess hard to say, but I'm definitely not an ISFP. Oh my gosh, my mom's calling. Speaking of ISFPs, hello. Mhm. Oh wow. Well, all right, mommy. I have to go. I actually am on a live stream right now, so I have to go. All right. Love you. Oh my gosh, that was funny. Okay, that was really weird because my mom is an ISFP. She was talking about an old boss of mine that she ran into. Um, that was kind of funny. But anyways, let's see. And then INTJ, which I also understand that. I think INTJ, I guess I understand the most out of like why people think that, just because NI. And there's a huge distinction with ISFPs and INFJs, but that's a thing for another time that I can get into. One thing I will say about ISFPs and ISTPs is with their NI, the difference between, I would say, INFJs and INTJs, but specifically INFJs, with their NI versus like an ISFP's NI, is ISFPs tend to really be like snap judgment people. Like they will have a certain feeling about someone, whether that is true or not true, and then kind of hold on to that feeling about them. And it's a bit different because like where the INFJ wouldn't necessarily or like may feel like, oh God, I don't know if I really like this is really the case, like I need to kind of prove it. The ISFP will be like, this is what it is, and like have this very almost like seem like they're very insightful. And oftentimes ISFPs do have a very good insight on people, especially when it comes to like physical things. but in my experience, it doesn't seem to be as accurate as like an INFJs or an INTJs, especially INFJs, thought on people. And I wouldn't actually say that INTJs do that quite as much as INFJs as far as having like an insight about someone. It's a bit, they direct their NI in a different way. Like their NI is going to be more directed as far as like trends, or not necessarily trends, but like stuff that is specific to them personally, rather than something that is doing with like a social nature. But hey again, Logan. Okay. Happily ever after. You look 17. Yes. Ron said, I wonder why you don't post on your TikTok account. Well, frankly speaking, since April, I get into kind of a slump, where I just like I guess I feel like kind of overwhelmed. Like between the meetup and everything, and I kind of explained this in my other video, but like I feel like I have just like a lot going on, and I try to like devote towards certain things, and it's oh good. She's playing with her toy. Thought she was playing with something that is not hers. But yeah, I do have plans to go back onto my TikTok. I think I overthink things, and that's the thing about NI. INTJs are the same way in some respects, not as much. They're better at doing, but I completely overthink things all the time. Anybody that knows me personally knows this about me, is just very much overthinking. And like sometimes that can get me into like analysis paralysis, where I overthink so much that I don't act on anything. See. Toot toot. I'm 28. I think I mentioned before I get mistaken as a teenager. Yeah, it's so funny. I get mistaken as a teenager online and offline. Like I mentioned this too. I started working at a coffee shop because just to earn some extra money, but also I really like the idea of like making drinks and stuff. And it's a good way to like get out there and like kind of socialize with people, but also work. And like I work with a 26-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 17-year-old. Apart from like there are some older people as well, like people in their late 40s, early 50s that work there, as including the owners. But the 17-year-old and 21-year-old are siblings, they're sisters, and they both thought that I was like 16 or 17. Like the 21-year-old thought that I was her sister's age. And the 26-year-old also thought that I was like 17 or 18 or maybe even 16. And it isn't the way that I act. Like I don't think I act really immature, but I just like people think I look young, which is a compliment. I know my mom was carded well into her 30s, which is, if that's anything representative of like what I'll be like, which is good. And I think just like keeping in good shape, which definitely get in better shape. I'm not in horrible shape, but biggest thing is staying out of the sun. I've gotten pre-melanoma. Hey, no barkings. Just no barkings. I've had pre-melanoma like 9 times at this point, or at least I've had 9 surgeries for pre-melanoma. I've had more instances of pre-melanoma that or like removals for things that ended up not being that, and that is not sun related. So I was kind of told at a young age, because my first one, I was 12, I believe, when I had my first like pre-melanoma, and it was like right here. I was told from a very young age to like I can tan. Like supposedly I have type 9 olive skin or olive type 9 skin, so my skin can actually tan without burning. Believe it or not, I mean I still burn too if I don't wear a ton of sunscreen, but I can tan, but they suggest not exposing my skin to the unwanted or unneeded, unnecessary uh, sun. So that being said, I have stayed out of the sun the majority of my life, or slash worn sunscreen. So I think that also adds to it. But Mark Dan, did you hear Wikisocion no longer exists? Oh, I did not know about that. That's interesting. Marty Marson, sorry. Hello, and INTJ just joined in here. Hello. Lucy, you definitely have met an INTJ. You just may not know it. Which, if you are an ESFP, which we have kind of concluded with you, the kind of sad fact about like duality, which I guess I'll get back to Ron's point about like asking about duality or experience. So with your dual, it's kind of like a thing where you are less likely to be around your dual, at least for most people. And you're just not going to run in the same circles as your dual. And your dual is basically your perfect match. So for an ESFP, that would be an INTJ and Myers-Briggs. For an INFJ and Myers-Briggs, that would be an ESTP. That would be your dual. And I don't know many ESTPs personally, but the ones that I do, it's interesting because we just seem like very different people from like a psychological distance, but when you get to know that person closer, you realize how much maybe you don't necessarily have in common as far as hobbies or whatever, but you just like really understand each other in a cognitive sense. And you just really get along. And not always. I mean, there's also something to be said about like, I don't know, if your experiences are completely different, so it may be really hard to get along with that person. But typically the closer you get psychologically, the more you'll tend to like that person, where it's the exact opposite when it comes to your conflictor, which is like your least compatible match. Your conflictor, you're going to actually admire them from a distance, but the closer you get to them psychologically, the more you dislike them. So if I can make an NI generalization, most people in this chat are most likely liberals. That that is a fair generalization. Even though I don't think that all of the people that watch my channel, definitely not all of the people that watch my channel are liberal leaning or left leaning. I most certainly am, and I know that that's like not to get super political. I don't know. I'm not like I wouldn't describe myself either way, but I definitely lean a little bit more liberal than others. Um, but yeah, if you do not lean that way, that is fine. But yeah, that's probably a safe assumption. Lucy, how do FPs look to you? Do we seem selfish in a way? I guess like yeah, I would say at least for me, growing up, and this was before I really knew about like MBTI and it took a second or like socionics in general or whatever. I would say, and this isn't socionics FPs, but like Myers-Briggs FPs. Um, I find, or I used to find, FI as a very selfish function. I would see, I just see FI in general, not even just like FPs, but like people that value FI. I just feel like they have a better constitution of like who they are. Like they have a better grasp of who they are in some ways. I used to say it's like they have their own thing going on. They're it doesn't seem like they really care as much about what other people think, or not saying that you don't, but like it just doesn't seem that way. And there are times that I feel like on the other side of things, like FJs tend to self-sacrifice, where I don't see that as much with FPs in Myers-Briggs. But yeah, that isn't like a super in-depth answer, but short answer, yes. But I don't think that FPs are necessarily selfish. I have found in my experience, not all FPs, but particularly ENFPs, the one thing I do not like about certain ENFPs in my experience is I find specifically with those personalities, they tend to be kind of go with the wind type people. Like almost, and again, not everybody. I have like ENFP friends, but it just seems like some of them can be like kind of going after like the shiniest object, if that makes sense. So if let's say there's a shiny object right here, and then something like gets on them like dirt or something. You have a beautiful gem and it starts getting a little dirty or like maybe there's a scratch on it. Maybe not even, maybe it's just a little bit more dull than the other gem that they see. They'll go towards that gem and kind of abandon that gem. I've noticed that sometimes ENFPs will kind of go towards what will give them the most benefit. Not to get too specific, but, and that's not just ENFPs, but something I just have seen. Bigster's Adventures. Hi, Figgy. Sup, Emily. Hi, Figgy. And James. Hello. Hello, James. How are you? I haven't talked to you guys in a little bit. Ron said there's a book called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. It inspired Blade Runner. I didn't know that that was called that. If I was a genie from a lamp, what 3 wishes would you want to have fulfilled? That's a really hard question to answer in a way. I probably would try to do, like, the whole wish for unlimited wishes, but I don't know. I I I don't know if I have a good answer for any of those. Oh, that's funny. Astro Ascension Tarot. Emily is so FE. Well, Austin has met me in person. Austin can say, and I mean, I've obviously talked to Lucy and Logan here as well. But yeah, Austin has stayed with me for a week at my apartment. So Austin knows me up close and personal, and we've known each other for a few years, but he has seen it, witnessed it in person as well. Question from Jackal. As an INFJ, I found ENFPs fake from the outside before I knew MBTI, and therefore I avoided them. What was your views on ENFPs before you knew them? Oh my gosh, that's really funny. So that's kind of what I did not even see that thing. That's kind of what I'm referring to. Not all. Um, the thing about ENFPs, and this just goes for FI users in general, they're very much, I mean, you have to be fairly close to them to like have their like to have their loyalty. I wouldn't say ENFPs are the most loyal people in general, but they are with specific people. But with the fair weather, they're kind of weather friends, should I just say? Just to be frank about that. Not always, but ENFPs to me, they do have a fakey side. It's funny because like FE is seen as fake, so like ENFJs can be perceived as fake, ESFJs, but ENFPs have a different type of fakeness, and it's really hard to kind of note if you haven't experienced it. But I have had people on the internet that I've befriended that are ENFPs before, and just the interactions that I've had with them, there's certain people that I am not like close with anymore that I just felt had their moments. And this isn't people specifically, but yeah. Lucy, Emily is very social. I would have guessed she was an extrovert because she's really socially adept. Oh, well, thank you, Lucy. Um, I thought that I was an ENFJ for the longest time. For those of you that are new to this, I will make a video about like mistyping because it's very, very common. And I know that there are people on that have YouTube channels that have mistyped and like presented that on their channel. That's partly why I'm glad that I did not start my channel, earlier, because creating content for this stuff, I know it's a journey, and I've definitely like grown in general. Like I don't have the exact same views as I did when I started this channel, but I'm glad that I was not mistyped when I started this channel because it's very easy to not really understand, not to kind of like get things convoluted if you're mistyped. And yeah, I thought I was an ENFJ for the longest time because I really related to the beta Cobra and those functions. And I also type. The personality that I type as the most, if I was to take a test, is ENFJ. Like, and it definitely comes through a lot more in person than it does on camera, or even just in a setting where I'm talking with people, because on the camera I can definitely come across as, I don't know, cold, whatever, I'm not sure. But okay. And then Logan said, yes, lots of FE. Oh my gosh. Lucy. Not that all extroverts are socially adept, though. INTJ and INFJ are a good relationship. I personally really like, I've dated a few INTJs, and I really like that dynamic in a relationship. Definitely as a friendship, like my longest running best friend is an INTJ, and it was really exciting. So she's had two children already, two girls, and she's pregnant with her third child, which is a boy. And I was asked by her last week or this week, or I don't know, the days run together. I was asked to be her son's godmother, which is really cool. I am very excited. So I'm going to, that just kind of shows how close we are, is I'm going to be his godmother, which is a huge honor and privilege. Um, but yeah, I I see the INTJ and INFJ relation as a butterfly wing, and yes. Link to Discord. I guess I'll share it. Wait, let me go on my phone and share it. I don't think I have my Discord open on here. Sorry, I'm going to share the link. I hope everybody's night is going well, by the way. Okay, so I just shared the link. Let's see. Okay. How do you go through depression as an INFJ? Oh. So, again, this is something that I feel like a lot of people probably know already. I personally have been diagnosed with clinical depression and clinical anxiety. I was first diagnosed when I was 12 for both. Um, and I definitely have my moments. I have felt very good for a fairly long time. For years, I felt really low. The lowest being in recent years was when I was 22. I was wanting to um, end my life at that point, which was hard. But I definitely have my moments, and it comes from a chemical place for me. I don't personally take medicine. I've talked about this. It's challenging, and I think getting out there and doing stuff is a good thing, but even just having people to talk with is good. Uh, I would say that therapy is one thing that more people should explore, even if they don't have clinical depression or anxiety. And just, I mean, that's all I can say with that for now. Let's see. Lucy. That's so funny because I really liked this INTP guy. Then I got to know him and we hated each other. That's kind of the way I've had with ESTJs. Not all ESTJs do I have a bad relation with. I've kind of just realized it. But ESTJs for me, at least as managers or like bosses, not something that I prefer. And I think that there's just like a lot of butting heads when it comes to leadership styles or just in general. But I have like one ESTJ relation in particular, which is my Nana's boyfriend, that we get along actually quite well, but it's because I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I just really don't try to act completely myself when I'm around him, and just like try to humor him. But we are incredibly different. We go about things very differently, and I actually really like and respect him as a person, but definitely not a personality type that I would want to have it as a super close relation, even though like we're close. I've known him for years and like I think he's great. But let's see. Trees are neat. Logan said roast each quadra. Uh so I would say with the Alpha Quadra, this is what comes to mind. I would say that the Alpha Quadrant can be quite boring in a lot of ways, but boring in a way that I don't know. There's this childlike quality to the to the Alpha Quadra. So like the ENTPs and INTPs, definitely, especially ENTP, the most I would say is the most childlike out of the quadra. But and then ESFJs and ISFJs are, I don't know. I wouldn't say the whole quadra is boring, but there's just something about that quadra that there needs to be some more spice in there. And it's a good thing that there are ENTPs in there because it adds a little bit of spice. One thing I will say about INTPs is ISTPs and INTPs are pretty, and I'm talking about in Myers-Briggs terms, or INTJs and Myers-Briggs and socionics, or ISTJs and socionics. They can be quite dramatic people. They're pretty needy. So if I was to roast the Alpha Quadra, there isn't actually much to roast off the bat. Just kind of a little bit bland, but a little bit of spice. I don't know if that's really roasting. I can definitely roast the Beta Quadra. They really do take the form of dramatic teenagers. Betas are they're just doing the most. All of them are doing the most. And it's just like sometimes unnecessary. Sometimes I wish that the Beta Quadra would just like chill. Gamma Quadra, why am I kind of sorry? I'm just like thinking about all of the quadras, and I'm kind of seeing. I can see the Gamma Quadra is also kind of boring in some ways, but boring because they're just like too responsible. And that is specifically excluding ESFPs. I would say ESFPs are the least responsible out of them, but all of the others are just like too businesslike and responsible. And also, I think that the Gamma Quadra is just like way too money hungry. They're just very money hungry. Again, this is generalization. And then Delta, I just feel like Delta kind of feels like an off-brand cereal. I know that this is kind of mean, but that's kind of just the way I see Delta Quadra sometimes. It's just like an off-brand cereal, or just like sometimes I feel like the Delta, and not all of them, but like sometimes I feel like with the Delta Quadra, it just feels like an alternate reality where things are just like slightly changed, but or like even more slightly, and it's changed to a way that's just like unsettling, I guess. I don't know how to describe. But I know that that was kind of a weird. I would have to think on that to like think about a proper roasting. I could definitely roast each of the types a lot better than I could roast the whole quadras. Okay, 9 alt 0. Can resonate. One of my INFP friends describes himself as a main character and tends to categorize people as other main supporting characters in PC or having NPC energy, particularly sensors. Interesting. Definitely the sassy, edgy variant of INFP. Yeah. Ron said, I usually think INFJs or FE DOMs are fake at times, especially when they adapt other people's emotions. So I wouldn't say that I adapt other people's emotions, but I'm very cognizant of other people's emotions. And I don't know if I adapt is the right word. And I wouldn't even say mirror, but it's almost like take on but not adapt. So feel but not adapt necessarily. Um, that's the biggest criticism that I get from my sister, apart from like her thinking like that I was like dramatic or something about things, is she sees Effie as very like she gets creeped out by Effie. And again, my sister is an ISTJ in Myers-Briggs or an ISTP in Socionics or an SLI. And she just like, there have been situations where I knew exactly what to do emotionally in a situation. And that can almost be perceived as manipulative, like FE, because you kind of know what you should do in a situation. And if you do it well, and it can just be perceived as pretty manipulative. And my sister would just see that as like very, I don't know. She found it a little bit disturbing the way that I would act in a certain situation. So we lived with this guy who I believe, looking back, is an ENFJ. He actually typed as an INTJ, like on the tests and stuff, but I believe he's an ENFJ. He was very good at persuading large crowds, but when it came to individuals, that's where he was like a little bit less so. I think INFJs are a lot better at like individually influencing people rather than as a collective. But anyways, we really realized that he wasn't the greatest person, and I forget what it was, but I was kind of just, I guess I was being a little bit fake because we realized this about, which by the way, do you guys see how red my chin is right now? I'm getting like a hive or like something on my chin. Like that is really red. I don't know if I'm just like hallucinating, but that seems really like peak to me. And I remember her like being kind of disturbed by the way I would like talk to him. But Charlie Snow. Why are INTPs more likely to fail on average in every relevant social institution and therefore society as a whole more so than other personality types? I wouldn't necessarily say that that is the case. But from my experience with INTPs, or just like what I've seen with INTPs, is I don't know, specifically with INTPs, and I don't think that all INTPs are narcissists, but I have seen a very narcissistic, I shouldn't say narcissist because that's a very big word to throw around, but I have seen certain behaviors of INTPs that are like, they're very sure of themselves, And they feel like they know social situations a lot better than they do. It's like they kind of know the shell of the social situation, but without like the details. Um, and something I have seen with INTPs is they just overestimate their social abilities, and are kind of can be a bit of an a-hole to certain people. This is specifically male INTPs. I haven't had too much experience with female INTPs, but from what I've seen, it's like they will almost call out situations that are pretty obvious to a lot of people that really should not be called out, but they will call them out because they feel like, oh my gosh, like we need to do this social thing. But by doing that, it's actually being, they're going against the social grain. And it's like, they're not meaning to, but they're doing that. If that makes sense. And some INTPs just don't care, but from my experience, that it's like if you read the book When Friends and Influence People by I believe it's Dale Carnegie. A lot of the stuff that Dale Carnegie says in that book, it's almost like INTPs do the opposite, if that makes sense. If you never read the book, it's just like they're not going to really, I don't know, like meet people where they're at in a social aspect. And it's not always the way. Like, I'm not saying that INTPs are completely socially inept, but they definitely don't go through the same, like, they don't have the same rigor of social interaction as other personality types. And I would even say, even more so than like an INTP. Like INTP, I mean, INTJ and Myers-Briggs. INTJs, it's like they just don't care about social things. And they may have like some pretentious air to them, but it's just not the same way as INTPs, because INTPs almost are way too sure of themselves socially that it just comes off as like an a-hole, at least in my experience. And also just, they just like fumble a lot more because they kind of push themselves a little bit further into the social dynamic because they care more about the social dynamic than INTJs. And even though INTJs may not be the best socially, they somehow are able to navigate it, especially on an individual sense. But I don't know if that made sense, but Space Champion. I just joined the stream and heard a voice that said 7 days. Well, sounds like Samara is coming for you through the screen. Also, I'd not say hi to Panda. Hi, Panda. Da, da, da. Oh, wow. Okay. I like skipped forward a little too much. Which, by the way, thank you guys for joining and watching the stream. I know I've been gone and I kind of go in and out. Okay, avid randomer. I just dislike people who impose their will on others under the guise of being virtuous. I'm doing this for your own benefit. Do X, otherwise you're selfish. Yeah, that's a bit. That's not good either. Yeah, INTPs tend to have no filter and poor use of SE, so they get into trouble. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm describing. From my experience with INTPs, especially INTP male men, so like my dad is an INTP, and I also just know INTPs in general. I've seen INTPs. It's like they're also going to be the people that will kind of say things like, they'll let you know that they like you, but in a way that's just like, you could have done this with a lot more tact. or like, I don't know. They're just INTPs are kind of tactless in a lot of ways. Again, I like INTPs a lot, but they can be very tactless. So just the best way to describe them. Sunbather. How do you get an INFJ to open up? Or is it a mistake to try and force it? I mean, INFJs, just like any other person, is going to be, it's just like getting to know someone. It can be a slow process. The thing about INFJs, and this goes for other personality types, I would say ENFPs also have this, ESFPs too, ENFJs, is like you will almost feel with like an INFJ, especially if you get a conversation with them, particularly alone. They will be pretty open with you in a general sense, depending on how like comfortable they are. And it will almost feel like you've known them a lot longer. Like you, from my experience and from other INFJ's experience, like we tend to get close to people pretty quickly. And this is both a good and bad thing. It's bad in a sense because it feels like you know that person a lot more than you do on both ends of the spectrum. But it's also good because like you can open up pretty easily to an INFJ, and they tend to be fairly not really tell every single aspect of their life, but they'll tell just enough to make it feel like you're closer to them. And this isn't because like they're trying to necessarily hide anything, but I think like even though INFJs can be fairly open people, it still has like there's still I don't know, it takes time to get to know them, just like anybody else, but I think some betas are fine. I don't mind any quadra as long as they're nice. Yeah. Are you advocating inversion, subversion? I don't know what that is referring to, like as far as the conversation. Maybe I just forgot. Hello, lovely B. Hello, lovely D. How does it feel being INFJ and NITIFESE? Okay. Well, first of all, I don't really tend to agree with like the NITIFESE jumper thing, whatever that is. I'm not sure if that's like a Dave superpowers or whatever, objective personality thing or whatever. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think people think that I have better TI than I do. Like anybody that knows me, especially in person, I'm not a very super logical person. I can definitely tend to be in my head. And I would also say that being around my dad and being around certain people, and just like trying to adapt to not be as emotional may have me be perceived that way. I don't see myself as being a TI jumper or whatever. But whatever. Da, da, da. Jackal. If an alien or God wanted to destroy this world and come to you, so you could try to talk them out of it. Would you? If so, what would you say to give them hope in people today? Uh, well, if it's a god, I feel like they would kind of know better than I would. But as far as like an alien, I don't know. I think there's just it's hard to. I mean, that's a really good question. There's like a lot of good things about this world. I'd say most the world is generally good. Um, I don't know if I would do a really great description there. There's just I feel like there's just a lot of richness to life that if you were to wipe it away, it would take away that. And I don't know. That's really not a great answer, but I'm also realizing that I'm reading this chat like super late. Um, as far as like some of the stuff that I've already mentioned. Yeah. It's like a pink chin. Um, I have here kind of. 9 alt 0. I find INFJ people pretty dope. My male INFJ work friends will say things like, I'm happy you're here today, and he'll sound genuinely happy about it. And I'm just like, bro. Yeah, I mean, I would say, obviously, every personality can be genuine and genuine. It just depends on the person. But I tend to genuinely love people or like people. Um, if I don't like someone, which doesn't happen very often, like there's not many times, even if I get a bad feeling about someone, that I like dislike them, or like there's very few people in this world that I dislike. There's people that I feel kind of indifferent towards, but most people I like or are am kind of indifferent about. And like if I like someone, I will let them know. Um, and I try to show people appreciation or whatever. Okay. April Fools. Would you say FE or FI users would more likely to shame attack people for stepping out of the social norms, or both do it but in different ways, or the shaming more that likely to come from TP or TJs? Um, so I mean, it would really come. I mean, it really can come from both. And I really wouldn't say necessarily, especially TP. Well, okay, I kind of describe that as like INTPs in Myers Briggs and ESTJs in Myers Briggs. I would say, as far as like thinker types, are probably the most as far as shaming people. on different sides of the spectrum as far as thinkers. And when it comes to FE and FI, it's a bit of a different situation. So I would say FE in a more general sense. Um, FE, you're going to find like ENFJs, INFJs, ESFJs, different people, particularly ENFJ and INFJ. You're going to find with those people that they can really turn. So I've definitely had situations where there's been a bad apple in a group, or there has been a person where it's like, we need to, this person's not good, or like, basically, I don't like, I mean, the best way to describe it is almost like canceling someone. You're going to find that is prompted by ENFJs and INFJs in a group setting. Like, if those individuals feel that someone is not good in a situation, a group situation, they will be, and if they're all steam ahead on it, which typically speaking, they're not going to be like, oh, let's exclude this person completely. But if they are, that person is going to be essentially canceled from the group and not really invited to places. Or if they are, it's going to like teeter out. Whereas like, on the other side of things, on the FI side of things, I would say ISFPs tend to do that with people. I would say I might be overlooking someone, but I would say ISFPs are pretty good at excluding people out of the F users. They tend to be the ones to like, I don't know, isolate people in that sense. And then on the FE side, definitely ENFJ and INFJ. But there's differences. Like, there are people that are like thinker types, they do it in a different way. So like INTPs and ISTPs tend to do it in a sense as well, I've seen, but it's not as effective as an ENFJ or an INFJ, whereas like an ISFP is also really good at it, but it's like an individual thing. I don't know if that made any sense. Carl Jung wouldn't be happy to see how these Myers-Briggs sisters butchered this theory and attempted to quantify humanity within 16 categories of personality. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what Carl Jung thought. Technically, the Myers-Briggs test, if I'm not mistaken, actually came out before Carl Jung died. I believe Carl Jung died in 1961. And I'm pretty sure Myers-Briggs came out before that. So he most likely knew about Myers-Briggs a lot more than what we think. Okay, something about me that people may or may not know. Well, you would know this if you knew me in person. I tend to look things up a lot. If I don't know the exact answer, I will look it up. So wow, this is like taking a while. So yeah, Psychological Types came out in 1921, and then looks like. Oh, okay. Well, World War II, they started developing it. So 1962 was when it was published. So that's really good timing considering Carl Jung died in 1961. Okay, so it looks like it was first copyrighted in 1943, but it wasn't published until 1962. So very good timing on their part, um, as far as like Carl Jung dying. But Jackal, the puppy licked your chin after a kitty poop event, and that's why it's bred. Oh my gosh. Yeah, little Thea did eat poop, but I'm actually allergic to cats and dogs. Um, Not crazy, especially if I'm around them a lot. Well, especially cats. Like cats are even more so. But yeah, I get hives and sneeze and stuff. Jackal, and if you would re-roll your MBTI, what would you want to be rather than INFJ and why? So previously, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say because I don't think any of the personalities are ideal. There's something lacking in in all of them, and all of them obviously have their gifts and things like that. Previously, I said INTJ in the past because I really do admire INTJs a lot, and I also admire ENFJs a lot as well. However, I don't think I would want to be either. I don't really know. It's kind of a hard thing for me to answer because I guess more than anything, I would want, I guess, ENFJ is still kind of something that I see as being a good type because I feel like they don't have as much of analysis paralysis. Plus, they still have that empathy towards people, and they're just able to get things done a lot more than like myself. Like I find myself being very, I don't know. I wish I could get more things done than I do. Like I find that I don't have enough energy to do certain things or I get like way too in my head about things. And I just don't see ENFJs doing that as much. Like any ENFJ that I know, um, sometimes I like look at them and I'm like, how are you doing this without having the knowledge to put this forth? Like ENFJs act a lot sooner than I would, which I admire, but also I'm like, some of this I would not do if it was me. And that's kind of like your mirror and socionics. So like an EIE or an ENFJ or an IEI, INFP and socionics, INFJ and Myers-Briggs. Those personalities are mirrors and basically they have the same, like they what's it called? They value the same functions, but in a different, slightly different order. And because of this different order, they like do things in a very similar, like, or like they have the same, I guess, wants and needs out of life, but they do it in a very different way. Or not very different, but it's like slightly different. So it's like mirrored. It's like, okay, I want to go left, but I'm actually going right, and vice versa. They will see the other partner as doing something in a way that they just wouldn't quite do if it was them. And this can be kind of unsettling for the other party and vice versa. So there's certain things that ENFJs do, at least in my experience, that I admire, but also I'm like, I wouldn't do it the same way if it was me. I've known an INTJ for 3 years, and he hasn't gotten any friendlier or open towards me at all. Well, INTJs in general are kind of that way. Like, I knew this one girl in college who she's probably out of like people that I've met, like regular people, not YouTubers or like social media people. As far as in-person people, she's probably the person when I think of someone that I admired at the when I was younger, I really admired her and looked up to her. And she was only like a year and a half older than me. But there's just something about her that I just wanted to be so much like her. And we were very similar in a lot of ways, but where am I getting with this? Oh yeah, I wanted to be her friends, and we were kind of friends, but kind of not. Like she had this thing with me that I kind of knew from the beginning that she wasn't super fond of me or like didn't really want to be like close, and it kind of bothered me, and like I kind of like tried to feel like that wasn't the case. And anyways, that's kind of an instance of I knew this person for a year and it just felt like she only let me in so far. Like it was like I couldn't get super close with her. Um and I think this is like a tendency that like INTJs and ISTJs have is like if they kind of set this like boundary with you, you're probably not going to cross that threshold unless something like super unique happens. Like, I guess if you were to date that person or somehow get very close with them due to instance, like, say you become their family member for whatever reason, like maybe you end up marrying their uh, sibling, or you are in a relationship with them. Um, or just like over time, like it could just be over time that they just get close to you. But typically with those personalities, they kind of have drawn a line of where they want to be. And they don't do this with every single person, but like certain individuals, if they just feel like they need to draw a line with you, they will. And they're not going to cross it unless they want to. If that makes sense. Avid ranter. I don't mind people who don't think as long as they're not telling me what to do. Yeah. Also, guys, I just realized that I've almost been talking for 2 hours. I guess I'll kind of talk about. I mentioned this in the video that I made about recently. But I am thinking about like, not thinking, I actually am going to do, I just have to figure out what to do with this, is making a Patreon, which I have one, but I just haven't set it up, is if you guys would be interested in being a patron for my Patreon, what kind of like things would you like to see? Like I have kind of made, I mean, I've obviously let my Discord open to certain people. But I'll probably have that as a perk because I don't like to give out my Discord to everybody. Like I don't have it public, like a public link. But so that will probably be a perk, or it will be a perk, is having Discord access. If you already are in the Discord, obviously you don't have to be a patron. But that would be something. I've also thought about like maybe making like some type of art thing or like note for people. For all of my patrons, I want to make like a note or like a art piece, small art piece that I'll send out to everybody. I'm not really sure how that like the logistics that. And then I've also thought about doing like a either live streams or even like sessions, having a session either every bi-weekly or weekly in a small group of talking about things that people will have access to. I don't really know what kind of perk you guys would be interested in, if you would even be interested in being a patron. Obviously, it would be a way to show support because I've said this before. I do want to become a full-time creator on YouTube or just like in general, but I eventually do need to like being able to justify it financially, which will happen with like obviously if I get more views on videos eventually. The ads alone do stuff, but like yeah. Anyways, and I've also thought about doing like different merch and stuff. But yeah. Oh my gosh, you can see Fia in the mirror. But yeah, apart from that, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before I get going? It's coming in on the 2-hour mark. Do you guys have any questions or do you have any like things you want to see in the future? I've thought about doing like a apartment tour. My apartment is like pretty bare. Also, I have a lot of stuff that like secondhand stuff. I mean that I've had from family members or even like this couch behind me I got from Facebook Marketplace for like $50 and nothing super fancy in this apartment. I eventually want to start doing more things with it. I feel like Fia's doing naughty things. Fia? Do you need to go potty? Anyways. Oof. Charlie Snow, if you want to be a full-time YouTuber, you have to put 3 to 4 videos a week that pertain to several subjects. It's not going to be handed out to you. That is definitely not what I was asking at all. So this is obviously I'm not wanting to be completely supported on Patreon or something. But it's just not really justifiable right now for me to like, I mean, I guess I can put out several videos a week, but I would want to, I don't know, not saying that I have super high quality videos, but I want to like not just put out videos to put out videos. And that's not really the case. I would say more so putting out quality videos. And for me, it's really a consistency thing. I have to like be consistent. It has to be sustainable. If I'm not able to like sustain, I want to start off by trying to do like 1 video a week and not overdo it. Yeah. She has my socks. Yeah, that's like easier said than done. I mean, that would be the goal to like put out more videos a week then, but like moment I work 60 hours a week, which again is a lot for some people, but it's a lot for me. Um, I work 8 to 5, and during the weekends I work 8 to 5 or 8 to 4. So, and then on Fridays I work from 8 a.m. to 8 to 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So there's not much free time, plus just having a life in general. And I know I can take those aspects away. This is not me saying that I want everybody to financially support me. That is just something that a lot of people do, is put out a Patreon. And again, not that you have to help or support. And unless I got a ton of support on Patreon, that would not be justifiable alone anyways. Obviously, I need to make videos. That's very clear. But kind of what videos would you guys like to see? And I know that some people are just like, whatever videos you want to make. And I have ideas. I don't know. I just find that comments be a little bit obvious. Obviously, you do have to put in work, but yeah, I don't know how to just say that. I just find that to be interesting. Ron, socionics, quadras, and type description would be good, as well. Intertype relations would be as well. Yeah, I definitely want to do socionic stuff. I think the biggest thing that the analysis paralysis for me is I don't really watch a lot of MBTI stuff anymore. And most of the stuff I watch on YouTube has nothing to do with personality theory personally that I watch, but I have like seen now and again different videos, and it's like really difficult for me to like justify like making a video that someone else has already made, and obviously not copying that video, but feeling like, oh, someone already made this video. And I've talked about this before. It's like, at least for me, I feel like, okay, there's already this out there, why should I make it? But some people, when they watch people's videos, like there's probably a lot of videos about a certain subject, but I watch certain YouTubers because I like those YouTubers. And I'm not really comparing them to other YouTubers that make that same kind of content. And I think I need to put that same like hat on myself of like not comparing myself to other people, and being so overly judgmental of myself, because I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm like copying people, or like even if I haven't watched the video. I don't know. It's hard to describe. I just feel like I get really in my head and care way too much about like what other people think, that just really, I don't know. 9 alt 0 Trillion, yes. I watch and regurgitate Ben Shapiro at times as well. Facts don't care about feelings, yada yada yada. We need an interview with the couch now. Its perspective in the world and what not. I'm sure what to say if you gave it a chance. Oh my gosh. Jackal. You can do special streams like a Halloween stream when the comes and stuff where it's themed. Yeah. Probably will do, like, if I do have like a Patreon thing, probably will do like kind of more individual things. I think something that I think is both good and bad about my channel is the aspects that I have talked about personal things on here. And for some people, they like that because it's like, I mean, obviously I'm sharing personal things, but at the same time, um, I don't know. Like some things I wish I didn't ever share. And then also it can be hard because it's hard to separate like when you put yourself out there, especially being vulnerable, it's very sometimes it can be hard to take other people's judgments rather than like just putting out general content. So like if I just talked about personality theory without talking about it from my perspective, I don't think I would be as uh, discouraged about certain comments that people leave than like saying from it like saying things from a personal experience, if that makes sense. A Christmas unboxing stream, call it Tree Spree. Yeah. I don't know how interesting that would be, but about paths towards growth as a person, either generally, oh wait, generally or specifically for each type. That's a good idea. Okay, Charlie Snow. So why are you talking about how to accumulate a YouTube following? I didn't bring it up, you did. That's not what I was saying at all. I realize in order to get a following on YouTube, you have to have people view your videos and have subscribers. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying starting from right where I am right now. Obviously, like having more subscribers and more views, you can sustain yourself. I'm just saying for the time being. I don't know, but April Fools. Yeah, I watch your channel to see your take. Yeah, I think that's something I don't know, and I know I'm not alone on this, but like kind of just getting over your own ego, because like I really don't like to feel like I'm copying people. Like I just don't like that aspect, and I know that I'm not, but like in my head, I think I worry about other people's judgment, and obviously it's online, people are gonna judge you and things, but and that's the thing. I also like watching people's specific takes about things too. So kind of just realizing that like people are interested, they'll watch. If they're not, they won't watch. It's fine. Mugging, again. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hi. Oh, the pronunciation. Let's see. Mugen. Mugen. Anyways. Yeah, I'm going to put out content. I don't know. I'll think about it. I think the best thing is just not to think about it so much. That'll be good. But yeah, I feel like I'm just kind of rambling at this point. So I'm going to get going. It is 10. I probably need to go to bed. Little Thea needs to go to bed. Fleur needs to go to bed. Well, she doesn't really. She's a kitty. But all right. Well, thank you guys for joining. I do appreciate it. I'm gonna get going. Go to sleep. I hope all of you guys are doing well, and thank you again. for coming and watching. All right, bye everybody.